In the serious universe of hip jump, one man ruled with an iron clench hand, striking trepidation into the hearts of even the boldest we're discussing. In all honesty, the notorious Suge Knight, the unapproachable power who controlled Death Row Records during its brilliant period during the 90s, yet behind his savage veneer lies a chilling story of influence, selling out, and destructive aspiration that will leave you stunned step into the brain of a genuine genius. As we unwind the puzzle of Suge Knight, did you realize he was plotting to end the existence of the unbelievable tune? Its actual find the stunning purposes for Suge Knight's vile arrangement, and the lethal outcomes that unfurled them. I truly couldn't accept it since Homeboy Me and him were companions. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Celeb Live Channel, your definitive hotspot for the juiciest superstar tattle today. We're making a plunge into the dim and shameful universe of the music business, where battles for control and contentions have filled probably the most stunning quarrels in history. Prepare to uncover the stunning truth behind the scandalous hamburger between Suge Knight and the incredible Diddy, a conflict that shook the hip-bound scene to its center amidst the 90s East Coast. These West Coast fight pressures ran intense, and collusions were tried. Suge Knight, the considerable power behind Death Row Records, and Diddy, the driving force behind Terrible Kid diversion, wound up trapped in a snare of hostility and unpleasant competition. Yet the thing was the main thrust behind Suge Knight's deep yearning to wipe out Diddy from the image tales world that Suge felt undermined by Diddy's fleeting rise to progress, detecting that his own realm was in question. Murmurs of fights for control, regional debates, and command over the rewarding rap industry arrived at breaking point. Suge's crave predominance and the unflinching hunger for influence drove him to the brink, powering his supposed plan to bring down the charming magnate. Yet the situation starts to get interesting. Much additionally, was there more to Suge Knight's grudge against Diddy than a simple fight for strength? Yet first, we should return to the start of the story. While Suge may never again hold influence over the business, it's vital to comprehend the reason why he ingrained dread in the hearts of numerous jail for an all-out unstayed term of 28 years. Brought up in Compton, California, Suge Knight bridled his monumental height and actual ability since the beginning. Pondering his past in a 2001 meeting with a watchman, he uncovered an alarming section of his childhood. Close by his companions, Suge would wander into princely areas, like the Hollywood slopes, hiding outside schools to target and deny the offspring of honor. To lay it out plainly, he started by looting. Setting out on his excursion, Suge at first wandered into the music business as an advertiser and guardian. Anyway, his desires took off higher than working for others, driving him to lay out his own special-owned distributing organization among his clients, with someone in particular named Mario Johnson purportedly engaged with creating a fragment of Vanilla Ice's diagram, besting Hit Ice Child, trying to tie down the privileges to the tune's eminences. Suge and his company stood up to Vanilla Ice on different events. When the famous rapper wouldn't consent, tales circled about Suge. Depending on additional serious strategies, tales flowed about a sensational experience between Suge Knight and Vanilla Ice, recommending that Suge hung Vanilla Ice off an in-gallery until he consented to give up the sovereignties for the track anyway. In a later meeting, Vanilla Ice himself explained that he was not hung over an overhang, but rather had an extreme experience with Suge and his company. In his lodging, Vanilla Ice described the occurrence, expressing, "As I went into the room and through the key, I saw Suge and around 5 others. Our address, I was shocked at specific occasions of that evening. Stay unsure, yet one thing is clear, Suge effectively accomplished his goals. The track ended up being profoundly worthwhile, and Suge likewise hammered out an agreement with a medication master named Terrio, who contributed $1,500,000 to launch Death Row Records. During that time, Dr. Dre was effectively looking for an exit from his agreement. No sweat mark, as per Jerry Heller, the director of NWA. Suge Knight and his partners supposedly utilized terrorizing strategies, waving polished ash and convincing Heller and Simple to set Drew and the Dio free from their contacts in 2013. Jerry Heller, who was engaged with Savage Records, guaranteed that Simple E had mulled over killing Suge Knight. After he took Dr. Durr and others from the name Heller, at first persuaded Simple not to proceed with it, but rather later communicated lament expressing, "I ought to have allowed him to do it," would have been a support of the world, not set in stone to do it, no question. Death Row Records experienced critical accomplishment with Dr. Dre's collection, The Constant and Sneak Homies from the Rear, with the option of Tupac's Shakura to the name Death Row, turned into the prevailing power in the music business, flaunting more ability than some other rap mark in history during their 4-year reign. During the 1990s, Death Row sold north of 18 million collections and produced benefits surpassing 300 million, regardless of the momentous accomplishments. Working at Death Row, or being in Suge Knight's presence, was apparently a bad dream. In 1992, Suge disregarded his probation by attacking 2 rappers, George and Linwood Stanley, who had utilized a telephone at Death Row. Without his consent, Shook depended on employing a gun, constraining the siblings to strip down prior to exposing them to Ruthless. Gun whippings during that period. Suge Knight seemed strong with Death Row ruling in the music business. His abundance gave answers for most issues, and assuming that cash missed the mark, his famous standing threatened people into conforming to his interest. Prestigious rap columnist Ronan Rowe wrote a complete book chronicling the rising and defeat of Death Row. As per Rowe, Suge and his partners regularly brought people into segregated rooms inside the workplace, exposing them to actual maltreatment. In the meantime, different representatives had no real option except to proceed with their undertakings while paying attention to the horrifying shouts and supplications for help from their partners. As Suge released his wrath upon them around similar time, an ability chief by the name of Cheerful Walters encountered a troubling episode. Walters, who addressed conspicuous craftsmen, for example, AR and Cypress Slope, was purportedly hijacked at an ATM in Los Angeles. Following 2 days, he was found in an inn bearing apparent wounds, including injuries and cigarette copies. Walters never recorded a police report, professing to have experienced amnesia. Because of the difficulty anyway, he consequently dropped countless rappers from his program. Understanding the episode, I believe it's as of now become obvious to you how Suge Knight is accustomed to managing his concerns. So clearly he has a contention with one more pained industry, Big Shot City. The starting points of the Suge Knight and Diddy struggle can be followed back to the wild contest between their separate record names, Death Row Records and Awful Kid Records, as the East Coast and West Coast hip jump scenes competed for predominant strains, race prompting a progression of conflicts and fierce verses and tunes. Yet the thing were the hidden variables that filled this hostility, one of the urgent minutes in the Suge Knight and Diddy